what's your first name?
George.
George.
George R. George R. Johnson.
And you're living in what town in California?
Well, in Piedmont, California.
Well,
That's in Oakland. Entirely surrounded by the city of Oakland, Piedmont.
But that.
Well, you really live in Rossmore now. Walnut.
Well, yeah, Rossmore,
Walnut
which
Creek.
is Walnut Creek. Yeah.
Whereabouts did you drive from?
Where did I drive from?
Yeah.
West Yellowstone.
Did you say it right?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was a Skinner for 2 years, 1913 and 1914.
Oh. Sounds exciting to me.
With the Wiley way.
I drove anyway. And I just happened to think, since I come here today, that I'm probably the last one of the Skinners
I don't know.
alive.
I don't know. I know someone who would know, but I don't know that myself.
Mhm.
It could be.
Because I was the youngest one of the whole bunch. See, I was just a freshman in college. But I used to be a cowboy in Wyoming, and that's how I happened to get the job, because I put on my application that I was a cowboy and broken a lot of horses, which I had. But I was the youngest one, and now I'm 88 years old, so
You're getting up there.
all the other
Well,
Skinners were, at least 5 years older than I was, the drivers and the scissor bills and the Skinners.
You Skinners live forever.
Well, the first job I had when I got up here was they had a couple of horses that never been broken, so they turned them over to me, and I broke them. And this is connection with that. I was telling her, they gave me these couple of horses to break, and I used to hook them up and drive them up the river, drive them up a couple of miles, and tie them to a tree and go fishing all day.
And that's how you wrote them?
Yeah, on the Madison River. Yeah. And Charlie, who was manager of the West Yellowstone, he came to me about after a week or 10 days, 2 weeks. He says, "Aren't those horses broken yet?" And I says, "Well, they're pretty well broken, but I don't think we should take some dudes out with them until the former." He says, "Well, I think you take them and you handle them. You start out tomorrow morning with some dudes." So
That was the end of your fishing?
That was the end of my fishing.
there were stagecoach robberies in Yellowstone both years that Dad was working there.
These old people who were working for Wiley?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's he got?
They were heavers.
They were all heavers.
Heavers and waitresses.
Waitresses.
And BBIs. You know what BBI
No, I
is?
don't know what that is.
Bedbug inspectors.
BBI, let me write that down.
You know what the soldiers were? Swatties.
Was that derogatory?
What?
Was that a bad thing to say about them, or what?
No. See, it was under the Army at that time.
Uh-huh.
And they were Swatties, and they was up, I think, Camp Sherman, or Sheridan, or up at yeah. And we very seldom saw any of them unless we got in trouble. And then we phoned the Swatties, and it took them a long time to get to where they was going, because they had to come on horses, ride horseback. And
Were there not soldiers at the west entrance?
no soldiers. I very seldom saw any soldiers. Only time I saw any was I was in, well, what I guess was the last, I think was the last real stagecoach holdup, and that was here in Yellowstone Park, and it occurred, well, on what we call the cutoff. That's going from West Yellowstone direct to the geysers. Instead of going up the Gibbons lunch station, And then down to the geysers, there was a cutoff that went from West Yellowstone right directly to the geysers. Sometimes we'd go up
Yeah, I think I know.
to Gibbons lunch station and have lunch there, and then drive on down to the geysers. And sometimes we'd take the cutoff and along the river there.
Along the Firehole River.
Yeah, the Firehole River.
Now, were you involved in that?
Yeah. And you see, it was all dirt roads and awful dusty. That was the main difficulty, dusty. So when we get started out with what we called a train, you know, our gang was 6 or 8, maybe 10 coaches. But it was a big gang, but usually about 6 or 8 coaches. And it was about halfway between West Yellowstone and the geysers. And there was, well, the way we found out that there was a holdup, see, there was 8 of them altogether. They'd come up from Jackson Hole country. And there was 4 of them that stopped the front coach train. And there was 4 to the rear that prevented anybody from turning back, see? And, coach in front of me I caught up with that, see? And the word come down that there was stick up there. And, where I stopped, there was a big cliff on the left side, and it drops down steeply on the right side down to the river, except there is kind of trees and meadows down there. And the funny part of it was, my dudes, we heard them, they was coming down. They took their wallets and their watches and anything valuable, and they threw it over the bank, see? And then after they
The hold-up men did this?
What?
The hold-up
No,
men?
the dudes
threw it
did
over-
it.
No,
The dudes
the
did.
dudes did, see?
Right.
So that the hold-up guys couldn't find it. They wouldn't have their wallets or anything on them. But the funny part of it was, afterwards, the dudes went down, and I went down with them, and we couldn't find them. So they lost their watches and their wallets and anything they threw over, because they, throw it over. So they lost it anyhow.